Hello all, this is Dr. Shilpi Reddy, Clinical Director, KIMS Cuddles Mother and Child Center, Kondapur, Hyderabad. October is the month dedicated to breast cancer awareness. And as a part of this initiative, I'm talking today about BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. What are BRCA1 and 2 and what is the significance of BRCA1 and 2? We will know in this video. If we have to talk about BRCA1 and 2, they are, genes, the DNA genes that are available in us. And it's the abbreviation for breast cancer gene. So BRCA, so breast and cancer. So BRCA1 and BRCA2 are two genes that impact a person's chance of developing breast cancer. And every human has both BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. And it is not the BRCA1 and 2 that cause cancer. You have to keep that in mind. Every human being has, be it a woman or a man, they have BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes in them. And these are the tumor suppressor genes. The BRCA1 and BRCA2 are the tumor suppressor genes which are responsible for suppressing the breast cancer and the ovarian cancer tendency. And when they work in normalcy, these genes help keep breast, ovarian and the other cancers, type of cells, and they prevent the cancer cells from growing. So they do not allow the cancer cells to grow rapidly or in uncontrolled fashion. So it is not the BRCA1 and 2 that are culprit. BRCA1 and 2 are the normal, protective mechanisms of genes in our bodies. And in hereditary breast and ovarian cancers, there are mutations. That means that there are changes in this BRCA1 and 2, which are called as mutations in BRCA1 and 2 that cause hereditary ovarian and breast cancers. Now, how much is the incidence of BRCA1 and 2 mutations is that we have to know. About 5 to 10% of breast cancers come under the category of BRCA mutations, and about 10 to 15% of ovarian cancers come under the BRCA1 and 2 mutations. And if we have to talk in particularly the incidence of cancers, say normally if any woman has an incidence of about 20 to 30% or 15% of cancer rate in her entire life of breast and ovarian, in BRCA1 and 2 positive people, the incidence of the BRCA1 is about 55 to 72% in cancers, and the incidence of BRCA2 is 45 to 69% in cancers. So in all, if all cancer people are tested for these genes, the ovarian cancer and breast cancer women or men are tested for these genes, and the incidence of BRCA1 gene in them is about 55 to 72%, and the incidence of BRCA2 gene is about 45 to 69%. And this is up to the age of 70 to 90 years. And sometimes, there are other mutations that can occur in BRCA genes also that can be responsible. And these mutations in BRCA1 and 2 genes, they prevent them working normally, and they have an enhanced risk of developing breast and ovarian cancers. And when we have to talk of increased risk of breast and ovarian and other cancers, when they have BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations, it is not only about breast and ovarian cancer, they also have an higher incidence of pancreatic cancers, at times colon cancers also. And in men with BRCA1 and 2 positive, they have higher incidence of prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, and also breast cancer. So it is the BRCA1 and 2 mutations, they're also seen in women and they're also seen in men. What happens if you are BRCA1 or 2 positive? If the test is positive, there are 2 copies in everybody, okay? One is inherited from the mother and the one is inherited by the father. So if the familial trend happens through the mother's family, then still you have 1 copy of BRCA1 and 2 mutation present, and the other copy that is coming from a healthy father can be negative. So there are 2 copies that are really tested for, and there are 2 copies of BRCA1 and BRCA2 inherited from the father lineage and the mother lineage. And when do we do the BRCA test is very important. For women with a family history of breast and ovarian cancer, we usually advise BRCA testing from, say, about 25 years onwards. And for somebody, for a lineage that is there for men of BRCA1 and 2, testing is advised between mid-30s to early to late 40s. So gene testing is done for both women and men also with a family history. So this is the time when we usually do the testing of BRCA1 and 2 genes. And what does the BRCA1 and 2 genes imply? Okay, when BRCA1 and 2 gene mutations are there in your gene, that is in your DNA, it means that you have an increased risk of developing breast and ovarian cancers or similar cancers of that lineage. So what it means is, it does not mean that you have cancer now. It does not mean that you will 100% develop cancer. It is a point to be noted very clearly that you have an increased incidence and you have to go for proper screening methods and be watchful of it. And the incidence of the mutations and the incidence of cancer, we already spoke. People who are having mutations, they can develop cancer over a period of time in their lifetime. And also, it doesn't mean at all that they will 100% develop cancer. So it is important to be watchful. It is important to continue your screening methods. It is important to do this gene test when you have a family history of cancers running in your ancestors or in your close family relatives. And where to do the test and how to do the test, we will talk about it. BRCA1 and 2 gene mutations, the cost of the test is about 22 to 25,000 in various labs, and the time frame of the test is about 3 to 4 weeks. It takes 3 to 4 weeks to get the test report. And we usually advise anybody with a family history of breast, ovarian cancers, or some colon cancers or pancreatic cancers, or any family history of cancers, these tests. And the blood sample is sent for the test, and I will give you the details of the lab that does the BRCA1 and 2 mutation testing in the description box, so that you will have an information of it, where to do and how to do it. Anybody with a familial history of ovarian or breast cancers, definitely they can go for the BRCA1 and 2 gene mutation testing. And there are several different other forms of tests, like TP53. It is tumor-protein 53, which is also tested along with the BRCA1 and 2 for increased risk of breast and ovarian cancers. So it can be another tumor protein which is co-tested along with the BRCA1 and 2. And there are very other types of cancers, like the germ panel that we do for other types of cancers in people with familial history of cancers, especially the germline cancers. In such people, we do the germ panel, which is testing for about 25 different types of genes. And out of this 25 genes, 19 genes are tested for ovarian and breast cancer, breast cancer and ovarian cancer high risk genes. So there are several tests other than the BRCA1, BRCA2, tumor protein, and the germline panels that are available. And whenever we do testing, it was also to be be wise and be looking into aspects of prevention. It also gives us an insight into the degree of severity and where to look for the problems and how to prevent certain problems. Especially, there is a HRD panel pathway or HRD pathway that we usually do for very severe forms of diseases, like severe forms of cancers, like very early onset breast and ovarian cancers, wherein we look for genes like the chromosomal variations, like the genomic instability that we look, and the aggressive behavior of cancers can be understood by such various genomic testing. So BRCA1 and BRCA2 is one of the simplest tests that we can do along with the tumor protein analysis. But there are several other tests that are usually advised in severe grade of cancers in the family. When the onset of cancer is very early, you have to do these kind of variations and be very, very watchful. And people ask me about if the BRCA1 or 2 mutation is positive, what we should do. You should be little watchful. You should do your screening methods. You should do your annual mammogram. You should do all methods that really prevent cancers and make sure you have a healthy lifestyle. That is more important. What we take home as a message should be very clear. Even in spite of having BRCA1 and 2 genes, mastectomy or oophorectomy is not the complete solution of prevention. The problem is when we know certain things, we should know where to limit and how to apply the concerned test. In such situations where you are BRCA1 or BRCA2, we call it BRCA1, BRCA2 positive, you have to be watchful. You have to be having a healthy lifestyle. You have to promote your screening methods. You have to be very careful and having a healthy lifestyle. So that is more important. Screening part is more important rather than going for drastic measures like mastectomies and oophorectomies. Yes, there is a strong incidence. Then at a later date, you can have those if you have any other symptoms and signs and doubts, but not as a preliminary measure. So this is all about BRCA1, BRCA2 and the tumor protein 53 and other small panels that I had information about the breast cancer. And this entire month of October is about breast cancer screening, breast cancer awareness. I would do videos regarding this and follow up with you all with information that is really, really important. So keep watching and subscribe to my channel.